Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Business from the Bass Boat powered by X2 Power. And guys, today we've got an awesome show lined up. We are working our way through kind of this off season and trying to stay on the topic more around companies within the fishing industry. Really, it seems like I've got two themes going right now. It's either talking tournament stuff, where guys are going to fish next year with the changes in the opens, the invitationals, the NPFL. You're seeing a lot of changes there. Folks kind of go in different directions in situations. So I am curious to see what the tournament fishing landscape will look like after 2023. And with that, the other theme we've kind of been rolling with here lately has been businesses within the industry and seeing kind of the impacts of the boom of COVID and sales from that standpoint, and then now going into maybe this slower time frame and getting folks within the industry in running these businesses, their thoughts on that. So that's what today's episode is a little bit more in line with. And actually, this one I'm excited to get into. It's a jig company that really has made some high quality, super high quality jigs in the northern region of the country. And that is the owner of Outcast Tackle, Connor Summers, is who we're bringing in today to talk his business and everything he's got going. How's it going, Connor?
What's going on?
How are you?
Doing well. Trying to stay warm.
Trying to stay warm, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I hear that. In Colorado, we're in winter. We've got snow on the ground. Gosh, I think I woke up this morning, it's 8 degrees. So it was a chilly one.
Yeah, it's not much different here. Not much different here, but I mean, that's what the price you pay to live up here. And man, the summertime and the fishing makes it worth it. So
Right.
we just kind of hunker down.
Hunker down in the off season. Well, it makes for a lot of guys. I think, I don't know. I want to get your thoughts on this too. I think it depends on the person. But I like that little bit of break because it gets me really fired up to get on the water when stuff starts coming back off. You know what I mean? Versus some guys who fish year round. I see that, but I like hunting. I like some other things. So it's almost like it, especially tournament fishing wise, it gets me ready to go that when stuff starts getting open.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely get burnt out. It sounds weird to say you get burnt out fishing, but we go, especially up north, we go so hard as long and into the season as we can possibly stretch it. And then, yeah, it's a relief. You get to like fix your boat, put stuff back together, like actually figure out what rods are broke and how you're going to get them replaced, and get to just inventory and figure out what happened. Because, yeah, it's usually just a hot mess until there's ice on the lake. So,
Yeah. I think that's true for the northern states in general. And you really see it, like you're saying, in that northern Midwest, but like the local and regional tournament scene is so stacked because it's such a short season that it's like every weekend you're doing something. And then maybe there's a Bass Nation event or something that's a little bit more than a weekend. You have to take a couple extra days for, and it's just like boom, 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 go, 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 go. And then it's like you said, it's like, what did I need to probably look in this compartment, and I don't want to look in it because it's just going to be a mess, but figure some stuff out on the boat.
yeah, for sure. And even as you get into the middle of the country, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, those guys, I mean, they just go hunting. I mean, I think that's everybody this time of year just goes hunting. For me, I think like this weather we got up here, I don't want to go hunting it that bad. Like,
Yeah.
I'm more prone to hunt like down south, but they everybody's hot, sitting in a tree right now, and that's their break too, right? So they still take a break. Can they fish? Yeah. I mean, but it also gives them time to like go crappie fishing and go hunting and maybe actually see their wife and kids a little bit,
Right.
figure out figure out how to keep that all together. So
That dude, like this is brownie point season, man. That's what I always try and try and do too. Is it's the time to do some things around the house and figure out everything on the home front. But
yep, for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, today I really wanted to just get into Outcast Tackle. Let's first start, I guess, with the story and everything and how you got involved with the brand itself. Very well known for, I would say, at least where I came across Outcast in the first place, was on the national kind of scale with Fighter. You guys work with Fighter and then with Josh Douglas as well, both anglers that I've followed for a really long time. And I would
Yep.
always see products around that and therefore then purchase some of those products. So I just wanted to get into how you got involved with the brand, where you're at now, and tell a little bit of the story of Outcast.
Yeah, I mean, I it was what 2002. Mike Dahl started this company, and uh, he just kind of had a vision of going actually lead free at the time. It was all bismuth, and he had a couple of friends that he had fished with, and they kind of just started making some jigs. I mean, it really wasn't anything crazier behind that. He had good connections with Gander Mountain at the time, and got
Okay.
in selling with them. And so it became, I guess, a little bit more legitimate of a business at that point. And that's kind of where I came into it, was when he was with Gander. I actually met him at a sports show here in Minnesota,
Oh, cool.
and I met him, and I was trying to be on the pro staff. So I'm like, oh, I mean, small company, I'm just starting out. Maybe this will work. Luckily, it did, and I got to start working with them. Him, there was no them, it was him. And after a few years, we had developed like our pro swim jig kind of in those initial years. The RT jig, which is just like a flipping, like grass flipping jig. And life had kind of pulled me away from that part of it. And I started tournament fishing harder and focusing on a career. Well, what was my career? Running like service master franchises, doing crazy water and fire restoration stuff that I thank God every day I
That's
don't have to do.
so that's like a franchise. Like what was your role? Were you yeah,
Operations manager.
okay.
So, which it sounds like I would sit in an office, but I was in the field. I was running
Yeah.
around managing jobs, employees, every person you met it was facing a disaster in their own home. So that was
Oh,
fun.
jeez.
And yeah, it was just it was. I mean, it was good. It was good to you got to help people, but
Yeah.
man, at the end of the day, that 24/7 responsibility of doing that got
Mhm.
to me. It was stressful. So
Sure.
I started kind of seeing that wasn't gonna last, and I jumped back in again on more of the development, marketing, and sales side of Outcast,
Okay.
and found out that not only did I like to do that work, but I actually was able to produce some products um, that other people like too, which is it's cool. Like you have an idea in your head, and then you put, and obviously I'm talking to other people at the time. We had just started our pro staff. It wasn't very big, so I didn't have a lot of resources to pull from. But it was cool because like I had made colors for our swim jig, and then I got to see them actually sell, and that builds like confidence behind what's in your head. You're at least thinking down the right path.
Yeah.
And so it gives you confidence to do more. And then as the company kind of developed and we got more retail locations and obviously more customer support and we grew our staff, I signed Seth Fighter when he started fishing the opens.
That's
Um,
awesome.
a local guy whooped on us all the
I was gonna
time.
say, were you fishing against him a bunch prior to that?
Yeah, I'm from like northern Minnesota, and he was
Okay.
from kind of the Twin Cities, southern area. So we crossed paths once in a while, but it was never good for me when we did. The dude fished and still does. I mean, he fishes. That's all he does. That's what he knows how to do. He's just an animal, and it actually feels good that he got on the Elite Series and is a respected, good angler. It makes me feel better about myself because he took a lot of people's money here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, and actually about that same time we had Josh Douglas signed too,
Oh, cool.
and he was getting into the opens and starting to fish hard and making some moves out there. So we got very fortunate in the beginning of the staff that we had, and it really led to kind of how we kind of joke around, talk about it, but it's kind of like we're kind of bougie. Like we have like higher end jigs. We don't really chase like price point stuff. We
100%.
just put what we want in the jigs, and sometimes it makes them cost a little more. But I feel like when you just don't lack on the components of stuff and the process and everything is the way it should be or as close to it as possible, that product usually just talks for itself. And I say that, and we've had some, issues along the way because running production issues and that specific hook that you were using is out of stock and it's not going to be back for months. And
Oh,
there's a
man.
lot of challenges doing it that way too. But
Because
uh,
it's so specific to what you're wanting. It's not just a generic hook you're throwing in that jig. It's
yeah, I mean, a lot of companies, and I'm not going to give specific examples, but if they have a Gamakatsu 2-aught standard wire 90-degree hook and a jig, and
Mhm.
Gamakatsu runs out, they may just throw a Mustad or whatever other brand in there
For the
just to
time
keep
being.
production going.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't notice, but we've never done that because I feel like people would notice,
Yeah.
especially in the earlier, like the beginning of our company. The following we had it was really, they were diehard anglers, still are diehard guys. And so when things were a little bit off, yeah, he got called out. And while we weren't perfect our whole way to this point, been close. And I think moving forward, it's actually just going to get better. We've learned a lot of things, and now that I should talk about Mike, the original owner of Outcast. He was kind of like a one-man band. Like he did all of this stuff out of our shop in Duluth. Like he did shipping, receiving, inventory, assembly, pack. I mean, just it was like
All of
five
it.
people's jobs in one. And so
Wow.
he worked himself, I think, into frustration with it because we had grown to a point where it was like consuming his entire life.
Mm.
And he wanted to always have like total 100% control over everything that we did. And in order to scale it to anything beyond what it was, you can't do that. Like you have to start putting people in certain places to be able to help. And
That's I mean, just a great point, Connor. I mean, I think that a lot of small businesses struggle with that, right? Especially a founder builds something out, wants it, knows that, hey, no one else can do this as good as me. I want to stay
Mhm,
doing all of this stuff. But the only way to scale, I mean, the only way to scale is bringing on additional folks or implementing technologies. And it's just a necessity if you want to scale, right? So I think that
right.
you're making a great point. And then before I forget, the other point I wanted to bring up too that was I thought awesome was just talking about a high quality product and how it speaks for itself. I think especially in the fishing industry, there's so much like gimmicky sales stuff, that
Yeah.
companies utilize, and that's all paid promotion and all this stuff. And still, at the end of the day, word of mouth speaks uh, speaks like at a higher level to me. And also, by the way, from a business owner's perspective, that's free marketing, right? Like there's nothing better than word of mouth. That's not having to go bring on influencers and push the product. So I think that's awesome with that mindset of sticking with that because word of mouth is the best. It's still extremely powerful. You know, if somebody's using this jig and it's the top jig and they tell their buddy about it, like those are trusted situations.
Yeah, I mean, all reality is it's a flooded market. I mean, there's more jig companies out there than I would dare to say anything else.
Like,
I don't think.
yeah, that's interesting. I wonder like the stats on that because you're probably right. I mean, think about how many jig companies there are compared to hard bait companies, or name another bass fishing category.
Well, yeah, I mean, and everybody knows the guy that makes jigs in his garage, right? I mean, everybody knows the guy that pours lead in the winter, or ties hand tied skirts in certain colors for people, and all that stuff is good. I mean, that can't go away.
And it
That's like,
drives innovation too, right? I
it
mean,
does. And so while that can be like a challenge, I think it's good though, because it keeps companies that have gone beyond that garage status
mhm,
to their roots, that you still have to be like agile and you still have to be able to adjust and adapt to what's going on.
mhm.
And it really just keeps you on your toes to stay relevant. Like if you want to be a relevant company, bait company, you have to stay current. And the challenge is sometimes products that you have a personal love for have to go away. Like that first color swim jig you made discontinued. You never thought it would happen, but it has to. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a mess and you're not going to be able to keep up with anything. And
Mhm.
as this whole industry progresses, it's technology on all ends of it. Skirts are able to make different colors than they ever have been now. So you can make colors more realistic. You can get dialed in closer to what you actually wanted to see. So the evolution of baits, while a jig is always going to be a jig, weed guard, and a skirt, what you can do within that to make it better, to make it uh, a little, I wouldn't say custom, but it's more ideal to what you had envisioned as perfect. And it's amazing how few companies out there actually put the effort to, I shouldn't say few, but there isn't a ton of companies out there that really put everything they have into their products, because it's hard. Like it's time consuming.
To
So yeah,
innovate and research and development and make that next
yeah.
product.
Well, making it work right, like having the fall rate the way you want it, and making sure the head size is true to the weight, and making sure that you got the right line tie that in the position you want it. And that takes time. So you have to have like literally a dozen projects going on all the time so that you're able to actually complete stuff when it takes a year.
Wow.
I mean, tungsten stuff can take like 2 years.
Wow.
Um, we just now, I think literally right now, have our first 3/4 ounce stealth jigs available. And I've been
Wow.
working on that mold for 2 years, getting it
Wow.
right.
Yeah.
And it it's not cost efficient. I know that, but I got it right. I felt good and I was ready to release it. Now it's out, and like as of today, literally. And
Wow.
it's awesome, but it's also frustrating because when you start working on an idea, you're so excited to get it in your hand
Mhm.
that you're like, and then you get it in your hand and a couple guys fish it and they come back with a problem you've never thought of. And you're like, dude, I have to go back and like change this now. And that's going to add months to the project. But if you don't pay attention to those details, like that's what I think separates, those us between other companies that are out there. Not saying that other companies don't make awesome products, because they do.
Mhm.
And that keeps competition in the industry, which is good.
Yeah.
And I don't have any problem with that. But I just think like one of our biggest things is when we sign a guy on pro staff is that we listen to everything they say. I may not do exactly everything they want to do, but they're like, they don't launch a product with their name on it unless it's exactly what they want.
It's
And
cool.
that's rare in the industry because a lot of times their way of doing it, what they want is the like literally the least cost effective way. Like it's the exact opposite way to make money. So you you end up spending this incredible amount of time on a product that you're really not going to make a ton of money on, but you do it anyway for the love of fishing and everything that we do. So
Yeah.
it's now being part owner, I have a partner in this, but
Mhm.
uh, the only thing that really changed is just like once you have skin in the game and you have stuff to lose,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other parts of this business you get to look at. I used to just get to kind of play, like, how much money can I spend on new stuff this month? It's like, all right, I'm gonna go do this. And now it's a little more like, okay,
There's a budget.
I have like numbers to pay attention to. And it takes a little bit of fun out of it, but I wanted to see the business continue,
Mhm.
and I wanted to make sure that somebody from the beginning was a part of it. And I mean, unfortunately, Mike Dahl, original owner, found out in I believe it was early July, that he had stage 4 cancer.
Oh,
Um,
geez.
so that expedited all the talks that we had about me buying the business because I wanted to make sure he wasn't having to deal with this and fighting the battle. The only guess kind of funny part is 2 months later, after some treatments, he's like 90% cancer free and wondering why he sold it to me. So
No way.
yeah,
That is fantastic. I wasn't sure where that was gonna go. I'm glad that
yeah, no,
that's the
he's
case.
doing great. Treatments are going well. Yeah, he's bored. So he's like, "Is there anything I can help with?" So I'm still kind of working with him. So
Oh,
it's
cool.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have a
No,
great
that's
great relationship. The way it went down, everything went. It was smooth. It was exactly what he needed, and I want to feel like it helped him be able to focus on his treatment, so he had the outcome he did.
yeah,
But so yeah,
absolutely,
I
man.
mean that's the silver lining in that deal is that he's still around. He's going to watch me either roll this thing in the ditch or we're going to make something happen. So we'll
Or
see.
rolled it up Mount Everest, climbed the thing.
Gonna try pushing.
That's awesome, man. So this is all new um ownership really this summer, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Like
And
we literally bought the business in September.
wow.
Like closed on
Wow.
it and then had to move everything and start our own inventory. I mean, it was a lot of work. I had to figure out all what he did every day, which became like a nightmare of amount of work. I had no idea.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, at this point, we got things moving along. I'm excited. Um, we're in a really good position. I feel like, even though there's a lot of doom and gloom about how the industry is and what may or may not happen next year, the year after, and I just I'm feeling positive because we're still picking up new dealers. I mean, they're calling us, which is awesome. I mean, yeah, I couldn't ask for it to be in a better situation right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And um with your experience on managing some of the franchise stuff that you had going previous to this, how has I mean, obviously you've been in fishing, it sounds like your whole life. You've been in tournament
Mhm.
fishing, been around obviously with the company itself, designing stuff. Um, what kind of, I guess, challenges have you had in taking that ownership role, being more, like you said, on the number side of the business? And then what has helped you from your previous career to kind of be in this role now?
Well, really, um, the biggest challenge is having to bounce around in like entering in the orders to be shipped, working with who we have in accounting to make sure they understand how to invoice different customers. So there's a little bit of that back end stuff that I didn't deal with before.
Sure.
That kind of all it really does is just add an element to a day. Um, and it's more about time management now than anything is making sure that like I don't get on a phone call with Josh Douglas and spend 2.5 hours just shooting the breeze, trying to see what's up. It's like, hey
Uh-huh.
man, you know, we'll cut this one down to an hour, talk about some new baits, some new things we want to try. I make sure that, everything is just time blocked out so that I have an efficient day and I'm still able to focus on like new products, new pro staff,
Mhm.
things like that. So that part of it, yeah, it helped being able to kind of manage a bunch of moving pieces. But my business partner, Lee Noland, came
Mhm.
from or comes from owning a commercial construction company.
Okay.
So his like overall big picture management style is really good.
Mhm.
Um, and that helped a ton. Plus he's like an expert, I guess, on how to scale a business,
Cool.
like what can be put in what places to make sure you can move forward. Um,
Mhm.
and he's helped me a lot with just all the overwhelming responsibilities that came with this initially. So I can't take much credit on that end of it. Um,
Well, that's what's important. I don't know, in
yeah.
my eyes, that's how I've always viewed partnerships is like, you're each bringing something to the table. Um,
Yep. No, he
that's a
definitely
good
brought it.
situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a huge. It was great because when I brought him the situation, there wasn't a very long timeline on what we were working with to make the decision. So he was really good at running numbers and makes all these really fancy spreadsheets and stuff that show you what the real picture of this is and how to is the business profitable the way it's running. And luckily all that stuff checked out, so we didn't have a huge hill to climb right away. Mike ran a good business, so
Cool.
yeah. And obviously we kept all our staff that we had, and nothing really has changed. I mean, the only thing that's changed is uh, who owns it. I mean, I'm
Hands.
still running the majority of the obviously the sales, marketing, product development, working with the staff. So that's really it's it's going yeah, it's good. I mean, of
I love
course
it.
there's day-to-day challenges, but I mean that was
Overall,
overall right. Yeah, it's
it's
good.
rolling.
You had another part to that question. I'm trying
Trying
to
to think.
remember it now.
Oh, just your challenges. We talked about some of that, but just it sounds like you're rolling with everything else when it comes to the dealing with the staff, the marketing, with
Yep.
dealers, all of that. Around the dealer stuff, I guess, how much of Outcast do you feel is online dealers, right? Like your Omnias of the world, that kind of stuff, versus kind of that brick and mortar building dealerships?
Uh, I mean, we have 100% more brick and mortar partners as
Okay.
dealers than we do online.
Yep.
And online, though, is a major player with us. We do really, really well online. The brick and mortar it's tricky because those stores have a lot of overhead costs in their business model. More employees, buildings, everything that goes along with it. So a lot of the times they don't focus as much on consumables like your tackle, just plastics, jigs. They say, "Yep, we got a couple jig lines in, and we're good." And they sell for us. We turn them. they're more concerned about rods, reels, whatever the case is. They're higher margin, higher dollar moving inventory. So becoming relevant with some of those bigger companies gets to be a challenge because you just don't move their needle enough to have them spend a whole bunch of time working on how to sell more Outcast Tackle, right? And that's
a fair point. Just
it's just,
on their model, like that, it's just the fact, right? Like they're making more on those bigger ticket items in the store.
yeah, and for them, it's harder for them to get excited about like launching new products and what new customers that may bring to their location. And because most of them are more consumed with just getting by, uh, making sure they have enough to get the sales they need that season. And so there's a few dealers that are pretty good at that. But as a whole, online with the partners, like you mentioned, Omnia, Tackle Warehouse,
Yeah.
we're partnering with Tackle Addict. We have partnered with Tackle Direct. Just some of those dealers, they get excited about new products and they're excited about doing promotions. And Shields, another good partner of ours, has been able to work with us on some things, and that's brick and mortar, I guess, and online. But
Big time. Big time. They're
it's
like
just,
taking both worlds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's awesome when you work with people that are like, I send them out a new product and they get excited with you about it. And they're like, oh, this may bring some new clients to the store. This may, add an element of a new portion of people. Like if you come out with a really good, smallmouth bait, uh, like Josh did with the perfect Ned head,
Yeah.
we didn't have anything in that space. So this is like, it just not only did it give us an opportunity to be in more stores, I guess when you broaden your line, it just gives you like more relevancy to dealers because you have more to offer. So if you make like two flipping jigs and they're the best two flipping jigs, they're like, okay, so I got like this little strip of Outcast in here. It's hard to get excited about for anybody.
Sure.
So that's been another thing that we're working on really hard moving forward is just expanding what we make. And we're going to be more specialty than just standard like skirted jigs. You know what I mean? We have some stuff coming out. I'm really excited
Cool.
about. I don't want to talk about it because
Sure.
I don't want somebody to beat me to market with a couple of things. But there's some new hair stuff coming.
Oh, cool.
There's going to be some additional colors to our chicken. Uh, we're going to be introducing like a completely new type of hair jig product.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that. And then Fighter's got a new jig coming out real
Cool.
soon. Pretty excited about that. We're actually adding a couple sizes to our Ned heads. So there'll be some heavier models coming out.
Nice. Be good
Excited
for
about that. Excited about the way we were able to keep the original design and keep like, it's hard to explain without getting into it, but there's some challenges with using a little hook, for Ned rig fishing and a little bit bigger head. And so we finally came up with a way around that, and it's cool. So I'm excited about the future. I think we've got a great team that's with us, and I think as far as like consumables go, meaning
Yeah.
like tackle, like terminal tackle, jigs, plastics, I don't think that part of the market is really going to slow down much more than it already has.
Mhm.
You had mentioned like, it was probably a previous conversation talking about like the last couple of years with COVID
Sure.
and how everything had kind of blown
Boom.
up.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it did. I mean, it didn't matter who you were or what you were selling, it was going out the door. It was like, it's awesome. I mean, you didn't have to sit on inventory because it was all sold by the time you got it.
Yeah.
And it's like now I think, obviously we're seeing a lot of sales right now, like really, really good deals. And there's a lot of companies that are now getting caught up from that COVID period and that COVID period of ordering. So they were trying to bring in just mass amounts of product and it showed up too late. And now you've just got a whole bunch of people sitting on a whole bunch of stuff, and inventory sitting in the warehouse doesn't make any money. So
No.
they're trying to move it, and you'll see that, I think, even into like the first quarter next year.
Okay.
And then I think it's gonna settle out.
And you're saying companies you're thinking are putting that stuff on sale to get it gone, get it out of holding and inventory, or and you could see that go lasting as long as into Q1 of next year.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're gonna see this sale. I mean, it may run a little into second quarter, but like by midsummer, that stuff should be moved out and things should settle out a little more into reasonable inventory levels.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not only on like the dealer side, but the manufacturer side as well, because the bigger the company you are, the more bulk ordering you do,
Sure.
and the more inventory you typically will sit on. So if you have this massive 100%, 200% increase, and at the time, nobody saw like the manufacturing challenges that were going to happen, like literally closing the country. And
Yeah.
you can't put anything on a truck, it's got nowhere to go. So stuff sat places. And this is all, we're not even talking about like any overseas stuff. We're talking about just domestic
Yeah.
stuff got just trapped. And then by the time it broke loose, got where it wanted or where it needed to go, everybody had kind of overconsumed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So things got brought back down to a realistic level, in my opinion. There was no way we were ever going to sustain the level of consumer buying that we were at.
Sure.
It was just madness. And, I mean, despite whether you like it or not, there was a lot of free money getting handed out, and people didn't know what to do with it, but just spend it. So
That's what I was gonna say. Is I mean, that's where I think I saw you saw a huge bump in, especially. I mean, on kind of your smaller ticket items, right? Tackle. I think you're right on point with the thought process of fishing tackle isn't going to get hit nearly as hard as your bigger ticket items. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Just had Ryan with Gunpowder Media on last week talking about that. But a huge thing is that guys fish whether the economy's doing good or bad, and tackle items aren't one of those major expensive items. Now they might not, instead of buying 9 jigs, they'll buy 6 or something. You might see like a little reduction on the number, but the difference is like 2. I mean, just the amount of boats, trucks, electronics, anything when you start to get to that bigger ticket item. I think so much of that too in our world is done in finance, and when interest rates are super high, guys are willing to keep their boat another extra year or 2 or whatever that might be, and there's just less. It's more of a cash situation always when it comes to tackle and rods and reels, that kind of thing.
yeah, I think, I mean, let's say the fishing industry gained 50% more people involved in fishing over that time frame. I think you're going to retain 20% of that.
People are saying even less. Like people are
Yeah.
saying, you know what I mean? Just,
Well,
I think you're going to retain some. I don't know. I guess it's hard because I've always heard so much negativity that we aren't retaining people in this industry, but
no,
I don't know the direct data on that.
if you look at something like high school fishing and collegiate fishing,
Sure.
and the amount of growth we've seen there,
Mm-hmm.
it's re-sparking not only the love for fishing in youth, it's also re-sparking it for their parents.
Oh, that's a good point. You
Saying,
you
hey,
get right into it when your kid's in it.
get back out there and do this. You used to love to do it. You let life get in the way and all the things, but you still got a boat. go out there and fish and spend time not only with your kid, but be involved in a sport that he likes. And it's, I think the potential of the retention of people that we have is a little bit higher because of that.
Yeah.
And bass fishing is unique to that. So you may see that decline in hunting, maybe, or just general fit, like walleye fishing, ice fishing, all that stuff. Because people have more stuff to do. The commitments are back on the calendar. But
Sure.
I think it sparked people's love for being outside again. And I think a lot of people went out and bought boats, bought trucks, got gear. They're ready to go. And they're not just going to not use that stuff because they have it unless everybody starts fire sailing boats. I don't see that happening for how much they cost.
Yeah.
But and then the other part of it that I've seen growth that I don't think is going to go away is kayak fishing. I mean, it's the most affordable way to get into the sport right now, and there's a lot of people involved, and there's tournaments to a really high level, and it's like it's fun. I mean, you go places you cannot go with with a bass boat. So
yeah, we always just the Serious Angler crew and I mean, right, we've got Bailey, who's a great kayak angler and won a national tournament this year, and we always give him a little bit of crap because Andrew and I both have bass boats and love our bass boats, but you're dead on. I mean, I think that's a huge situation in this market, and it's a great opportunity to get into the sport at a much lower price point, and honestly, less headaches too. I mean, we all know how many problems boats have, literally all the time. So it's nice to have that option and to go places that you can't get with a bass boat's huge. I love getting way back into skinny backwaters and stuff, and you can go way further with a kayak than any bass boat.
Yeah, and I think that there's kind of like a little more availability for youth to be able to do that
For sure.
than we've ever had before. And there's technology around it, right? So you can still use the really good electronics. You can put trolling motor on it, put power pole on it. You could do it's like a tiny little bass boat. I mean, really is. And the cost is a fraction. So I think there's that was another, good thing for the sport. That was obviously there before the whole COVID explosion, but I think a lot of people jumped on that. I mean, kayaks weren't easy to find for a while. And um, I mean, I I have a bass boat as well, but my kid almost he's 11 years old, but almost rather fish out of the kayak because he's able to go do his own thing.
That's awesome.
He's like, Dad, I'm gonna go over there, and I'm like, no, we're gonna go over here, and he's like, no, I'm gonna take my kayak and I'm gonna go over there. All right. And that, then they get to go learn, do their thing on the water, that's good. I mean, hopefully someday he's teaching me something. That's all I know.
Yeah. And is he just ate up with it as far as fishing goes?
Yeah. It's almost too much. Like,
Really?
yeah. Yeah. He used to play baseball, doesn't do that anymore. Fishes, the youth, what is like a youth
Club
bass
tournaments?
nation that's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been a part of that. We actually fished like local Wednesday night tournaments, which he had fun with. And it's amazing how much he reminds me of myself when I was that age, just obsessed. But my wife, isn't as excited about it as I am. But I mean, everybody's got to have something to do, right? Some passion in their life. So it's cool.
That's awesome, man. That's really cool,
Yeah.
to see that side of it. I don't have any kids by any means, but I've always thought that that'd be, like, as much as you want your kid to have the interests that you had growing up and still have, you obviously don't wanna, like, push them into something they don't wanna do, but it's cool
Right.
on their own when they find that out. I think I'd be pretty tickled from that standpoint. I'd be pretty happy about that because it's like, "Man, I got a fishing buddy now."
Yeah. Yeah. My other son, he's 8, and He'd rather swim.
Yep. There's that, which is fine, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I figured I found out that my bass boat can pull a tube.
There you
I figured
go.
it out. You can pull it really fast, which is, yeah, that's kind of fun. Kids make you mad. You just say, hey, let's go tubing.
Yeah, this is for that time you didn't turn the lights off. This is for
Yeah.
that time you didn't.
Yeah. The only other thing is when you catch your kid rummaging through your boat, stealing tackle and
Oh,
rods, all of a sudden he's got, he's got a really nice spinning rod combo he's going to go bang docks with out of his kayak. And you're like, oh,
dude.
okay. But
Nice.
yeah.
Now,
But
does he have any interest, or have you looked at locally there on the kayak scene at all, or is it all just mostly bass club stuff at this point and
it's
the team tournament?
basically stuff where like I'll take my boat and there'll be a team of two
Sure.
and then they run the front of the boat and I'll just kind of hang out.
Yeah, just
Um,
your typical high school or youth where you're
yeah,
like the coach, but can't like do things, but you're sitting there driving the boat
well,
around and stuff.
depends on which parents in the boat. Some of them
Okay.
get like really competitive about it and
Bet.
they end up like fishing. It's sad, but
Oh gosh.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Like
Woo.
it's funny because you have like a local tournament. They're like 2.5 hours. Okay, that's all you got,
That's
and
a nice time frame for a kids tournament. I like that. 2.5
perfect.
hours. Yeah.
Everybody comes in with somewhere between like 8 and 11 pounds, for five, and then all of a sudden some guy comes rolling in with like 17. And the guy is legitimately more proud than both kids are.
Oh
And you're
boy.
just like, oh, so you got on the front deck and just went slinging and
Yeah.
just had a time. And this is your classic tonight.
Oh gosh.
And they try. I mean, they do everything they can to stop it, but I think there's always that one parent, trying to coach the hockey team or
Well,
screaming on the side
kids
of the baseball field. So it's no
kids
different. Fishing.
sports. Yeah,
Oh,
that's well, you see it so much. I mean, parents, right? Like living their dreams through their kids, man. Like, I don't know. I grew up playing a bunch of sports and it was just always, always parents getting kicked out of games or my brother's a big wrestler. So like wrestling's the worst for that because it's on one kid and you see his
yep.
dad going freaking nuts in the stands. And it's just ridiculous to me. I guess I'm not a parent, so I
It's
can't go from that perspective, but it's just like, man, you know, y-
it's
y-
in fishing. It's already
yeah,
there, and
yeah.
it's fine. I mean, it's going to come with it. I'm just glad it's there for them. I'd love to see that kayak thing go down into the youth age. I just think there's some liability there
Mm,
with
okay. So you can't
having a
compete
20, 10 to 13-year-olds all run around in kayaks, and there's
on
still like
their own.
the public on the lake, right? So I think there's a little danger to that. Now, if you found a lake where it was like all no wake or electric only or something, that'd be fun. I
Well,
mean,
and I don't know, maybe it's high school. I bet at like high school they can maybe start because I'm thinking Fred Rombanis in Arkansas, his kid won a big kayak tournament. And I don't
yeah,
know how old he is. I
I
don't know if
think
he's younger high school or older high school, but something, a little bit older, I guess,
yeah,
from that perspective.
right. Yeah, I don't know. I saw that. I saw that his kid won. It's so funny how like superstar anglers or even pro sports players and their kid just somehow magically inherits that gift and they come out just swinging. You're like, man,
I
that's
think,
it's
yeah.
awesome.
It is awesome. And I think there's the inheritance of the skills, don't get me wrong there too, but just being around it your
Yeah.
whole life and if you have that love for it, I mean, you're seeing what? You're seeing Randy Howell's son, right?
Hmm.
Having a lot of success. There's a bunch of them right now. Like just a crazy trying to think of a couple more that I fished against in the Central Toyota series. I'm like, this kid's like 19 years old, smoking me. And like those situations too, I think that it's awesome to see and it's like a dynasty. Oh, another one, uh the Cal
Oh
Lane,
yeah.
right? You know? And it's cool too to me too, to see that, like, it's no different. I think that some people maybe get a little jealous in that aspect. Like, oh, well, yeah, of course you're good. You're whatever son. But it's like, dude, it's like anything else in this world. Someone has a family has a business and the kid takes over the business, or you're still having to work for all of that. Um, and there's always going to be people with legs up and things, to some extent. But I think it's a really cool thing too. I think it's cool to see like these fishing family dynasties starting right now.
Yep. Well, and I give the credit that they probably have access to a lot of stuff a little bit easier, but
Sure.
that skill still has to be there. I mean,
Has to be built in
it
my
has to
eyes
be
too.
developed. And
Yeah.
so if they put the work in and they're good and they know how to use all that equipment, then yeah, I mean, it's life isn't fair. Some people have more stuff and access to things. And I'm telling you right now, that I can't, especially when I used to fish stuff down on the river, like La Crosse, Wisconsin area. I mean,
Mhm.
everybody kind of knows where that is now.
Yep.
It's like there was always a couple people that would roll up in a tin tiller boat.
Sure. To
Yeah,
get back.
sometimes it was to get places that nobody else could, but sometimes it was all they had.
Yeah.
They just put a whooping to you. I mean,
That's
you
awesome.
you never can judge somebody by what equipment they have when they show up.
Mhm.
That's for sure. Because their
No,
skill level and time on the water could make up for all of it.
no, I agree. I love that aspect of it. Yeah, there's just so much of that happens, and especially I fished all through college, and I think it's even gotten more so. But like there was some really high end boats that you would see next to you and stuff. But then like it doesn't matter what you're in, man. Like
No.
go John Cox it. Go you can go win with a 80 horse, 90 horse motor on the back of your boat, like no doubt about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. I don't care what technology we have out there available to us. You're still fishing. It's still, there's still fish that are going to get caught in traditional ways that are going to win tournaments. Yeah, I don't see that going away. And I think having that element of ease to the beginning of the sport, just being able to go out and catch bass, like everybody's like, oh, bass are easy to catch. And it's like, well, they kind of are until you have to catch like the right ones.
Mhm.
And then it gets tough.
On the right day,
On
at
the
the
Yeah,
right
exactly.
time.
When
Like,
you have to in those certain 8 hours. Yeah.
yeah,
That's when the challenge comes in. And yeah, I don't know how much my kid enjoys that tournament part of that yet. He's
yeah, the
kind of
competitive
been
side.
back and forth on the pressure aspect of it.
Sure.
And so I'm definitely not going to push him because I think if he ends up being like, you know what, I love to fish, I just don't like tournament fish. Well, that's fine. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that.
100%.
Tournament fishing to 90% of the population is an expensive hobby.
Yep.
So it's,
Yep.
but no, I think, looking at next year, I think you're going to have everything you need available to you. If you didn't get to buy what you wanted, that's one good thing.
That's true. You're gonna have you're
So,
saying the stocks getting caught
yeah.
back up.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, everybody will have um, a little bit of, I don't know how you want to say it, just less. There was so much urgency in the last year and a half about getting things. Like everybody panicked, went out and bought like truckloads of toilet paper, and just I think everything's just going to calm down a little bit. And yeah, the overall dollar amount may go down, but I mean, I don't think anybody, at least that I know of, is gonna like go away. Maybe
Yeah.
some really small companies that started during that time, but not none of the established companies that have been around are gonna disappear. It's just you have to tighten the belt a little bit for a year, and I think once everybody gets everything leveled back out, we're still gonna see growth. I don't think we're gonna. not see growth from this time period. It's just a little dip before another hill to go up. So
I like it. I'm an optimistic person as well.
Mhm.
So, like your thought process there. Connor, I guess we'll start wrapping things up here.
Yeah.
Two big things. Number one would be, how can folks follow along with Outcast and everything that you guys have going? Start there, I guess.
Well, our website is being constructed on. I've had plenty of emails, texts. It's there's a face page there, but it's down. It's being completely redesigned.
Nice.
We have a new logo coming out.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's a little facelift there, but all of our communications are still done basically social media, Facebook, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel. We're working on getting more content for it, but we're also understanding that our pro staff and other people that create YouTube channels have to have their own content. So
Sure.
um, mainly it's just right now is social media, and that's of course under Outcast Tackle. Our website will be up sooner than later. I don't have a firm date, but it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited about how user friendly it's going to be, and there's going to be some new ways to buy actually. So
Awesome,
it'll
man.
be cool. It'll be cool. Um,
In
yeah. So that's kind of how you can keep up with us. I mean, we always ask that you support our dealers, support our retailers. I mean, from online to brick and mortar, go out there and make sure you buy local too. That's one thing that we like to do is you go to a lake for a derby, stop in, buy a couple baits. I mean, yeah, you may not get a discount from your buddy's code, but you know, help them there because when you need something, those local people are who you're going to go to. I mean, night before a derby, run out of this color, that's where you're going to go. So,
Yeah, and it's a great supporter of the show. Omnia has a fantastic selection of your guys's jigs. That's another
they
great
do.
online
Yeah,
retailer, and a lot of them are like bestsellers in a lot of their categories, which is cool.
yeah. Well, they've been a great partner with us, helped us with a lot of things. We've launched a product or two with them. Obviously, them being in support with Seth Fighter makes things a little easy to kind of co-brand stuff. So, yeah,
Yeah,
good company.
no doubt. Awesome. Awesome. And then every guest, I like to end the show with your three biggest. So biggest largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, and where you were when you caught them. If you've caught any spots, I guess in Minnesota, there's probably not too many spotted bass, but if you've been somewhere with spots.
Okay, is this all time or is this like recently?
All time, man. Biggest
Oh,
largemouth for you, biggest smallmouth for you, and what you caught them on, and spotted
okay.
bass.
So we'll start with the largemouth. It's 7 pounds 3 ounces.
Big one, big northern
Lake
trout.
Minnetonka on a wiggle wart.
That's awesome.
I was like 22,
Oh, that's awesome.
like 18 years ago. So I'm 40 now. So yeah, that was awesome. I haven't gotten very close to that since. 7 pounder is giant.
Heck yeah.
Smallmouth was actually a lake here called Lake Coronis. It's
Okay.
pretty close to where I live now, but that was a 7 pound 1 ounce smallmouth.
That is a giant, dude.
Caught it
Wow.
on a skitter pop
Top
about
water.
15 years ago. Yep.
Wow.
Had no idea what I was doing. That was a random
That's,
one. We were
that is
just out on the
giant.
lake. My aunt and uncle had just bought a cabin on it. So I took out this just a 16-foot Lund boat with a 25 on it, no trolling motor, and was drifting between these two islands. Yeah, it was nuts.
Wow.
Um, I think the biggest spotted bass I've caught is probably like 3 something, and that was on Table Rock.
Cool.
That's the only place I went and chased them around. Um, Everywhere else that I've fished outside of the state, like Florida, and that I've really just focused on largemouth fishing, and I am going to be spending some time in Alabama.
Nice.
Yeah, fishing, just learning spots. They intrigue me. I know they're frustrating for a lot of people, but I think they're cool. I think there's I want to see kind of what that fishing is all about. That's one thing, obviously, being from up here. You have no clue what we're doing when it comes to chasing those things. But I've heard they're pelagic and they follow bait around, and we have a lot of smallmouth lakes like that. I mean, everybody thinks to like Mille Lacs, right, from Minnesota. Well, we have all these other lakes where smallmouth are in it, and all they do is relate to bait and swim around. Like, there isn't much rock for them to get on. Yeah, there's humps and points and stuff like that, but it's only if the bait's there when they're there. It's and so we catch smallmouth over 60, 80, 100 feet of water.
Sounds like a spotted bass.
It does, and that's what's kind of intriguing. But live scope's just like, you want to talk about something that changed that? Oh my god! It's just, well, it's still frustrating because you can't always catch them. But man, it's cool to see. We have smelt here, and they're this little 3.5, 4-inch bait.
We've got smelt here too.
Yeah, there's just thousands of them in a school. And you drive over it, of course, and you can't see what's under them. It's just a massive wad. So you put the trolling mower down, you start scanning around, and you see this little blurp come up and eat one of them, and you're like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how deep you are. You don't care because fish don't care. But
yep.
So yeah, not much exciting there. Like 3 and change, but
that's still, I mean, dude, that's a good one. Awesome.
Yeah, took me like 4 days to catch it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, cool. Well, Connor, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know you're a busy guy right now with everything that you've got going with Outcast, and certainly would love to have you on again another time, but appreciate you sharing everything, man, with Outcast and everything you've got going and how you got involved with the business. I think that's what this show's all about, is hearing stories like that. So can't wait to catch up with you in person sometime if you're at the Classic or ICAST or something like that. Cool.
Yep, we won't have a booth there, but I'll be there.
Okay.
So we'll have to catch up. But yeah, we appreciate having us on. Yeah, looking forward to this year. So
heck yeah. Awesome to hear it, man. All right, dude. Well, have a great rest of your day. And with that, we will wrap things up.